Okay, and now we would like to welcome our next speaker. I will just remind you, Vered, that there are also journalists on the line on Zoom that are listening and watching. And I'll moderate all the questions. If they send them in, then you don't have to. No problem. Okay. So first of all, I want to say that ZAKA has been very, very cooperative and has managed to find, I think, probably their most one of their most excellent speakers at such late notice, and we're very appreciative of that. Vered Atzmon Meshulam. She's had a very interesting journey during this war, I think, to say the least. Obviously, I'll let her talk about her journey, but just a few quick points so that we are all on the same page. Vered, from the very beginning, in the first week, right after October 7th, was at the Shura base, helping with the whole identification process, with the families. And then she volunteered with the Argamani family. Everyone recalls Noah, who was rescued by the IDF, and her mother unfortunately passed away, but she had been in touch with her mother's family, who was originally from China, and very quickly went into this role of creating the resilience division at ZAKA, as well as as a nonprofit organization that I'm sure you'd like to talk about. We would be very interested in hearing first of all about your role with the first deal, but given the fact that we're now news oriented, trying to understand what may lie ahead for the next couple of days, weeks, months, maybe. What work will be happening on the ground and what work you'll be involved in terms of treating the families who are unfortunately going to be part of the circle of families whose loved ones are not going to be coming back alive, which we know there are included in the first part of the deal. And just talking a little bit about Israeli society as a whole and how this, in terms of your experience, might impact things on that end. So the floor is yours, and then we'll go into questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanya. So,
yeah. לא, בסדר, לא עכשיו.
I will need it because if I will lose a word.
זה בסדר? Okay. Okay.
Okay. So, as Talia tells about me, my story begins in the October 7th when at the night I got a message from the head psychologist of the Ministry of Health that asked me to send an email for the psychologist in Israel due to the circumstances. And then I asked him, where are you going or how are you? And he wrote to me, I'm in the middle of my way to Shura base. At that time, it was October 7th at about 11 o'clock at night, and nobody knew yet what is Shura base. So I don't know how to explain, but it was like came to me. I wrote to him, I want to join you. And I thought to myself, what's the odds? I'm not working exactly in the, at the IDF or at the Ministry of Health, so it will not happen. And in 5 minutes, he wrote me tomorrow at exactly midnight, sorry. At midnight, your first shift. And then I went through all month, almost every day. I did a shifts of 6 hours with my colleagues, social workers and psychologists from the Ministry of Health that volunteered to ask for the families at the moment of the identification. That was a moment that actually changed everybody's life, but my life very much too, because from that moment I felt that I need to do as much as I can in my small world to change and help our people, the first responders, the families. And from that day, I opened a program that is specializing in giving a kind of process of processing the trauma for 2 days for first responders. And it was, I saw from the October 7th, more than 1,000 first responders in Israel. It's so many people from all over the society. You need something, yeah, it was like something that you can see all the society from the sides of the Charadim, the religious part and the non-religious and Bedouin and people that are just related to the Israelis community, and it was amazing to see how much power can we get from just being united. So that day was life-changing for me. What I saw there changed me in a way that to explain it, I can tell you that one thing that happened to me there was the moment that I saw after 3 or 5 days. I saw the faces, and that was my job to do, to see the faces before the family is getting inside, because we needed to prepare the family for what they are going to see. And after 5 or 6 days, I suddenly understood that what I'm saying, every escorting that I'm doing and every disease that I saw was executed at
Point blank.
And then I asked myself, oh my God, do I see that it's by accident that this is the disease that I'm seeing? And then I went to ask one of the high soldier in the base, and I asked him, it's by accident or that most of the bodies are like that? And he told me that it was 90% of the bodies were executed
At point blank.
So that moment was life-changing in the way that I understood that our mission as a nation will be to be their voice of the dead that have been killed brutally in a way that a human being cannot understand and cannot stand ahead and look at it without, understanding that something will need to be changed after that. And from that day on, I'm working with helping first responders in Israel. And for the last 6 months, I was asked to open the first resilience center in ZAKA. First resilience center, like for 30 years, the organization is working, and they never had a resilience department. And it was kind of a miracle for kind of this organization that is very, cultural. The language they are talking is a bit maybe different in a way, but in a way I'm realizing every day I'm in such a, thankfulness for God and for the opportunity to see how they are opening to get a good and professional treatment for their exposure to the most horrible maybe scenes you can ever imagine. And from that day on, we are working to, first of all, treat the volunteers that literally sacrifice their soul and their nefesh, just to bring the diseased, the Jewish and the non-Jewish people for a respectable funeral. And I can tell you that the volunteers in ZAKA, most of them are suffering from some kind of symptoms of post-traumatic syndrome. And I can tell you that we are now in the beginning of treating that, because we're still in the middle of war. And you can stop me because I can talk. But maybe you need to just tell me where to go, what's interesting for you to ask, because I have experience that I did what we are going to do maybe in a few days, hopefully. Bezrat Hashem, because we know that we are all very nervous to know if it will happen. And I think that the most hard part of this period is the uncertainty. We don't know who will come back. We don't know if they will come back, who will come back alive. So the psychological matter is really intense now in the hostages' families, of course. And I think that all over Israel now, we are all feeling that in some kind of way. Ask me questions, and then I can answer for your interest. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit what your experience was
Just
during
make sure you introduce yourself. So
Yeah.
Oh, I'm Jorge Dest from the Spanish news agency. What was your experience like during the first deal? If you can tell us a little bit.
The first deal
Yeah.
of the in the first deal, I think that we needed to do lots of I will tell you something about the first deal and what we learned from it maybe, and we'll do better, I think. The return of the hostages is a moment of profound emotional and logistical complexity, okay? We anticipate a highly coordinated effort involving government agency, medical teams, psychological professionals that will be there to support both the hostages and their families. This process includes immediate medical evaluation for the first step, emotional debriefing. We know that in the first days we will be very, how do you say that? It's like we will be very sensitive to the condition, the emotional condition of every one of them. We can't anticipate exactly how we will get how we will meet them, if there will be, I guess there will be a diversity. Some of them will be like that, and some of them will be, you would see the shock and the post-trauma on their face, on their face. And some of them will maybe seen as very exciting, and by the first days it will be very like powerful and giving hope for everybody. But we know by researches that we have been doing in the academic zone that we know that after a while the symptoms are getting out and starting to show their marks. As a psychologist and a professional that is working with post-trauma, I hope that as a society, as a government, as a nation, we will give them the most enveloped treatment, because we know from researchers and about resilience that one of the most powerful like a protective measure, it will be the community support, the nation support. And it means not just be there and be with the Galium and shout our happiness that they are here. It will be to give them the opportunity to be themselves. Some of the ones that get back are dealing with sometimes guilt feelings about their return, and others not. Guilt feelings about the society or the environment that are like expecting them to be heroes and be strong. And it's a really important message that I'm saying when I'm talking in the channels as an expert of PTSD. I'm talking about it a lot these days, that we need to prepare for that. There was lots of incidents with some of the hostages that came back. I wish that we can, as a nation, be less judgmental. Mm-hmm. And if someone from the hostages will want to stay at home and not talk with the press, it will be just as good as if they want to talk with the press. And if one of them will want, after a week or a month, to go and celebrate their release, or to celebrate life, we need to be very sensitive not to be judgmental for them, because none of us can be in their, in Hebrew we say in their shoes.
Yeah, in English too.
Yeah, okay. So as a nation, we have a really big project now, because I think that one of the things that we are very strong at as the citizen part, that we can really be united in a moment, in a crisis time. And I think that the power we maybe realized again, or maybe discovered it again in the October 7th, was the
like civil society.
The civil society show more than show us that we have strength that is not depends on nothing else beside of being together, united for the sake of the health of the hostages, the families, the grief families that are dealing now. Lots of families, hundreds, thousands of families are dealing with grief, very deep grief. So when we're going to see the hostages, I'm always, handling and putting aside, to the other hand, to think what they are feeling now. The families that lost their sons, daughters, husband, because it's going to be a time that it's going to be very complicated, like lots of emotional
Just like bring out
Yeah.
of all the
it will
emotions.
bring out all the emotions. In one hand, if it will happen, we'll be in a mode of a moment of hope, a moment of happiness, but it will be always with a part of being very, we will not forget all the other parts of the society that are dealing with no hope, with no returning, and nevertheless we can prepare for the families that they don't know yet who will come back alive. Maybe they know their names, but they're waiting, but no clue if they're alive or no. So for me as a professional, I can tell you that this is one of the parts that I'm very preparing myself for that. When I will see the families in the identification moment, or seeing the hostages family, I'm kind of giving a consultation to the hostages minhelet.
Administration.
Yeah, administration. I'm working with the staff that are escorting the families. Every family in the hostages families have a person that is like a case manager, that they are with them from the moment the October 7th started until now. So I'm helping them to help the families because they are handling a lot. They are first responders, some of them attached like families. So they are in kind of a way, I need to protect them, they will protect the family. This is the matter that I meant to say, that the unity is not just a kind of, how do you say kitsch in English?
Pitch is
It's not like just a slogan, okay? It's not a slogan. Maybe I will talk about spirituality, and it's not maybe very politically correct, but the spirituality part of this moment is the way that we will handle all the emotions that will go up, and we will need to actually, in some way, hold everything together. So this is, I think, a challenge. And I hope that all the organizations are preparing themselves. I can tell you that I know parts of them very close, and they are working very hard day and night. I just spoke a moment before I got inside with the chief executive, the chief commander of Shura base, that is a doctor. He's from the forensic part of the identification, and I asked him, how do you feel? What do you do? You're preparing. He said to me, I didn't sleep. We are all the time preparing ourselves in the Machon לרפואה משפטית. If you want me to tell.
the forensic institution in Abu Kabir.
You wanted me to tell what I know about the process that will be when they come back? Okay.
Yes.
So what I know, yes, I'm coming from ZAKA and from my experience in the field, but I can tell what I know. It's not a formal maybe answer from the government, but I can tell you that the process will be like that when the hostages will get released, and if we will get some of them in bodies, we hope that most of them or all of them will get back alive, but if there will be hostages that will be dead, so we will get them and immediately we'll take them to the institution of forensic identification in Abu Kabir. Then there will be checks and the medical tests that will try to identify the reason of death, okay? And after that, the soldiers will go, the bodies will go to Shura base, and from there to Chevra Kadisha and to the funeral. How do you say? The process of funerals.
Yeah. This happens straight away. This is
after they will come to the forensic institution, and they will check the reason and will find exact identification by DNA and forensic examination. Then they will move the soldiers to the Shura base, where the base of the soldiers that are there, they will go to a funeral of the army. And the one that is citizens will stay there, and from the civilians, the civilians will come, will go directly from there to the Chevra Kadisha and to the funeral. The moment of the identification, if will be, we don't know yet, we don't know if there will be a moment of identification properly. So lots
For
of
the family, you mean?
for the families, there are lots of questions. We are going for the unknown now, but we are trying to be prepared for all scenarios as we can,
Of course, you mentioned several times that we don't know how many will return alive or dead. How does that impact how the organization is preparing its teams, like the number of teams, the number of people working, because there are obviously different skill sets needed.
You
for
mean
each
from
thing.
the part of the government, the army, what do you mean?
Well, I mean, maybe if you can address specifically what the resilience team in ZAKA will be doing.
So in ZAKA, the resilience in ZAKA, this moment it's not in a way, in the practical way, it's not different from their job in daily job. The special occasion is just that it's really big moment, but the ZAKA's volunteers will not be in the part of the identification now, because the army is going to take the bodies or the hostages out, and then the ZAKA's organization will not be involved in the matter of that, but they will move to Chevra Kadisha, to the funeral parts. And about the resilience part, I can tell you that one thing that I'm preparing to, that this kind of event can maybe trigger lots of people of the community and the first responders themselves, because it can trigger lots of emotions that was buried inside. I can tell you pictures that volunteers are like having flashbacks sometimes from the conditions of the bodies that they saw. So as a resilience professional, I can tell you that I'm preparing to meet the volunteers maybe a few days after, to see them together, to speak with them, to see just, I call that in Hebrew, pulse check, like, just to see how are they, because we can be prepared that some of them will feel something that they didn't feel before. It's like a trigger, not just for the volunteers, for everybody. I think that today I was in the channel 13 talking about the national part of the resilience that we are attending to get now in this period, and I talked about the power of the community to be as much as we can compassionate to the families and to all conditions that we'll see. And one of the things that is really important, that we will prepare the people everywhere, that they will feel lots of emotions, and maybe they will feel that they want to cry, or they want to get to don't want to get up at morning for a day. It's okay. I want to say that it's normal to react as a nation, because it's not just the hostages' family. I think that in Israel now, we all feel kind of families of the hostages. So I'm saying that to maybe easier the reactions that will come, and tell people it's okay. It's okay if you feel for a day that you are having no power, or that you want to cry from happiness or from sadness, or everything is normal in this situation, because it's not a normal situation, and you can't expect nobody that is human and normal not to react to such a big matter.
Right. We're almost out of time. Does anyone have a question from the table?
Yes,
Go ahead.
about the volunteers of ZAKA, we know that just after the seventh the invasion, many of them were unable to work, and
Until now.
do you have any numbers, like a percentage of people who got to go back to volunteering or didn't go back or still in the treatment or?
Yeah, I can tell you that we just started a survey that will check in these days. We will get soon the percentages of the one that didn't come back to work or just having suffering from PTSD in kind of way. But I can tell you that we see that in ZAKA's volunteers are not just there in the army. We know that people who are exposed to a traumatic event, one of the things that is best, not everybody can do that, but one of the things that is better for better prognosis of healing is to go back.
Immediately, right?
Yeah, because you know why? Because the work the volunteers are doing is not a work. Okay, they are doing that from a deeper sense of meaning. And the power of getting back to work, though it's very triggering, though it can be very hard, the power of that is to leave the person connect, to make the people connect and stay connected to the essence of their Yehud, of their mission at the world. Okay, so it's very powerful. About your question, some of them didn't get back to work until now. They're facing lots of difficulties, disturbance in the sleep disturbances. Because of that, they can't get back to work properly, and they can't get in the morning, wake up. Some of them are having a really rough time. Some of them are still most of them are still in therapy. Yeah, the process is going to be long. It's not going to be. We are doing group therapies. We are using the power of the group, because the power of the group is one of the resilience components that can make them stronger more easily. We know that by researchers that found that the community and the feeling of someone understands me. I'm not crazy. You know, one of the volunteers, Yossi Landau, he's very known. He's a very, I'm very close to him. I feel that he's really special person. And he told me something that I was shocked to hear. And then I told him with tears in my eyes that it's exactly what I felt one moment in Shura. He told me that there was a moment that he'd speak with his volunteers, and he told them that he doesn't want nobody to hear that, but he felt that the bodies and the neshamot, the souls speak with him when he was there. And he felt that they told him that he is here because he has mission, and the mission is to be their voices, because he is the last one to see them. Nobody will be their voice anymore. And you know what? This is exactly what I felt when I've been there too. There was one moment with Nova's deceased name, Shachar Gindi. The family always tell me that I can tell her story because they want me to share her story. She was 25, a very beautiful girl that was supposed to start studying psychology in a few weeks. And then there was a moment that the family couldn't recognize her because of what I said about the execution by point. So there was a moment I asked her what can help you identify her. And then she said, I want to see the gel relax manicure, because the day before I put on her that. And then we showed her the moment. It was a very, very hard moment because none of us couldn't stop crying. Okay, the ZAKA's volunteer in the room, the rabbi from Rabbanut, me, everybody. And that moment was a moment that I felt the same like Yossi. I was looking at her face that was unbearable to watch. And I just got it. I don't know, you're Jewish, everybody? No. So I can tell you something. I felt in that moment that I heard a voice. I'm not crazy, I think.
I believe you.
I heard a voice that told me, listen, tell my story. First of all, that it will not be for vain, like that it will not be left and forgotten. Second of all, because if you will tell my story, or you actually, you'll tell my story, so I know that we can prepare better for another situation like that, and we will not be kind of shananim.
Just like
complete- yeah.
But
But the most important thing that I want to maybe end with that we have a really important job to say and tell their stories, because like in the Holocaust, that people can actually say that didn't happen. Okay, I'm a third generation of a Holocaust survivor from Greek, from Saloniki. And I think that when I've been there, in this moment that I told you about, a very intimate moment, I felt that I'm doing something that my grandfather will be very proud at me, because he hadn't have the time to separate from his family. And I'm here to help the families and to be with them and to make them feel less alone. And this is our job now, not to big words, not psychological big words. It's just being human, just being connected, just being non-judgmental. And I pray for God that it will really happen, because we are so, well familiar how things can get. And I hope that in a week from now, if we will see each other again, it will be when the hostage is here and I can tell you more about their condition. It will be a very, very inspiring moment for all of us.
Vered, you said that it's the very last question, and we'll end with this. You said that you're taking care of the people who are taking care of the people who's taking care of you.
It's a good. Lots of people asking me that lately. You know that a year and 3 months, I don't think that anybody except of my mother. But actually, I think that's one of the things that is really helping me is to help others, and we know that meaning is the most powerful. Viktor Frankl, wrote about the power of. Yeah, exactly. I've been in Shura, I was walking. There was breaks between the escorting. So I took two books. One of the books was Sefer Tehillim, and one of the book was and one of the books was a person looks for meaning. Search for meaning. So I was I'm opening, and then I was just tell me what can help us now. If they survive that, we need to learn from this experience, and this is the time. Who can learn more than us? Okay, and to practice it now. This is the time to practice our resilience, special resilience, and I'm treating myself by helping others, and I'm treating myself by studying Hasidic studying. I'm not religious, but I'm a believer. I'm very connected to my Jewish part, so that gives me lots of power. My family gives me power, my daughters, and being with you now gives me power, because I know that what I saw is now delivering outside, and I did my mission. So this is very healing. Thank you for the question.
Vered, thank you for everything that you've been doing, and we're all hoping for the best.
Amen.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Are we gonna get her phone number or should we
Yes, maybe we have to welcome our next guest.
I did tell you that we are doing in ZAKA lots of retreats. I developed a retreat that is very, very special. It's 2 days in the desert or in the north. We are doing a kind of ceremonies that I developed that is very therapeutical, and we are doing like tashlich in the evening with fire. We are singing together. I developed kind of a integrative protocol for dealing with trauma and moral injury. So if it's interesting for anybody here, I really invite you to come and see our retreats. It's amazing. It's a spiritual
It's for the
experience.
volunteers, it's for
the volunteers. It's every month or 3 weeks we are doing that. It's really amazing experience. If you want, I can really be happy to invite you to see that and take part and speak with the volunteers, because they have lots to say, and it's inspiring.
Thank you. We have included contact information for Vered and for all of our speakers, including your emails. It's in your WhatsApps. So feel free to reach out if you'd like to follow up on that initiative.
Thank you. Thank you
very
so
much.
much. I hope I didn't speak too much.
No,
I was
we-
preparing you to ask me questions, but thank you.
Thank you, Vered.